Hey, everyone. Welcome to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguzza, and I am here with my lovely Business Superpowers co-host, Lau Lapides. Yay!
Hey! Great to be back, Annie. So happy.
I always miss you so much.
I miss you too. So much time goes by, and then when we see each other, it's like no time has gone by.
I know.
It's great,
that's
isn't
how
it?
you know we're good friends.
Yeah, we're sisters. East Coast and West Coast sisters.
I know. I love it.
And me too. What are we talking about today?
Well, you know what? I always like the listener question.
Me too.
Because I feel like we're actually able to connect with our audience and really give them content that maybe they're asking and looking for. So I have a few questions that I have collected over the last month or so, and I really thought they were great questions to go over in the podcast. So,
let's go. No time
ready?
like the present. I'm born ready. Let's go.
Awesome. So I have a question from Ben, and Ben says, oh, I like this question. What are voice actors wasting the most time on right now?
I don't think the show is long enough, Annie, for that question.
I love it.
Great question, Ben. Love that. Okay.
What are your thoughts on it, Law?
Where shall I start? Okay. So the first thing that comes to my mind is wasting time, and I'm not saying, let me qualify it before I say it. I'm not saying it's intentional. This is not intentional, okay? But as a coach and as an agent, I see this all the time. Wasting time on self-sabotage.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wasting time.
That's a good one, Law.
Yes, on thinking about things like, why didn't I get that booking? Was I good? Did they like me? How long is it going to take for them to get back to me? On and on and on it goes, okay? Those, in my mind, are self-sabotaging questions because they stop your process from moving on to other and sometimes more important projects. And perhaps even a procrastination technique from letting you move on to more important projects by holding you back and questioning, second-guessing, analyzing, right? All of that analysis is paralysis, is self-sabotage. Yeah. That's one of the things I know actors and voice talent do all the time until they train themselves out of it.
Yeah. And you know, that's so interesting. I mean, I experienced it myself as a voice actor many, many years ago.
Me too.
And I think it gets to a point where you've been in the industry a certain amount of time, right? You've kind of proven to yourself that, I'm sticking it out and I'm actually making a decent living, right, at this. And you learn that not everything can be a success. And you learn to basically audition and forget it and move on. And that's really the only way that you can grow in the business because you waste a whole lot of time second guessing. And I remember I've said this before. I mean, as a cancer survivor, I mean, after I, was diagnosed and went through my surgeries and I got back in the booth after a while, I was like, gosh, what was I so worried about? It's like, man,
that's right.
I just went through a health scare, and honestly, when I got in the booth, it was like, what was I so afraid of? How I didn't sound a particular way, or I was worried about all these minutia things that really didn't matter. And so the great thing about that is it allowed me to really experience more freedom. I gave myself permission to just have fun and move on and not necessarily care so much or take it so personally if I didn't hear anything about an audition or I didn't get a gig. It just allowed me to move on. And I did that enough times, right? Just moved on. I didn't even need a health scare, but I've moved on enough times from, not hearing anything from an audition and not getting a gig to know that gives you the time to really pursue other gigs.
Of course.
So if the door doesn't open on that one, it will open on a different one. And so you need to be able to have the time to allow that to happen.
Yes. So. Yes, the great film director Woody Allen was famous for saying, out of many quotes, you need to have a few really good failures in order to understand your successes.
So true.
And it's really true, that relative kind of wisdom of experience is like, I don't know what something is until I experience something else. There's wisdom in suffering. There's wisdom in not getting what you want. There's wisdom in faltering and taking that and really, and you and I say this all the time in many, many different ways, but taking them and really utilizing that as a really important power tool for everything that you're about to do and not stopping yourself like the bull behind the gate with all sorts of reasons, excuses, and analyzations, but rather go through the gate and allowing yourself to go forward. So I see talent do that a lot,
Tagging onto that one, it's like, what are voice actors wasting the most time on? It's thinking about getting the work, or thinking about
fantasizing about that, right?
They're wasting the most time not doing the work.
Why it would be the perfect job.
They're thinking about the work, but they're not doing the work to grow. And that is, oh gosh, so maybe I'll just audition more, or maybe I need to market. How many voice actors have you heard say to you, I just need to market more? Well, market more.
Exactly.
How else can I say it? But this is work. I mean, this is not just a simple get behind the mic and, you've got talents and you've got great demos and you've gotten work before. But, if you're in between gigs, and you know that you need to market, you're constantly having to market. I don't think you'll ever not have to market unless, of course, you hire someone to market for you.
Right.
But in reality, you can't just think about, oh gosh, I do have to market. And if you are not, like I also say with my students, if you're not actually actively practicing or, your skills and, especially when they're coming through the coaching with me, I give them homework. I'm like, if you're not going to do the homework, all those hours of experience, of experiencing different scripts, of trying to, play the acting part of, who are you and who are you talking to? And that just gets, that's just good skills building. Mm-hmm. And you need to be able to build the skills, and you can't build skills unless you practice at it, to be quite honest.
I do think talent has to be very careful of their creative imagination, because just because you have a creative imagination and that's your gift and that's your skill and that's something that you're getting hired for, does not mean it's allowed to run wild 24/7. You have to discipline your brain. So your creative imagination is great in your marketing and it's great in your delivery, but it's not always great when it comes to logical or even common sense thinking. Sometimes we have to put it at bay and say, hey, I'm going to pull you out later on when I need you, but I don't need you right now to put me in fantasy land. I don't want to be in fantasy land.
You got to work the books right now.
You got to work that book. You got to work the realistic moments, right?
It's time to send the invoices.
Face reality.
It's time to account for your spending. It's time to get that website done. So all those things, I'm not saying it doesn't require creativity, but sometimes it just requires that mentality where I'm focusing and I'm getting down to business. I'm doing the stuff that I don't find as much fun, but I know it needs to be done and I'm going to do it, and not just thinking about I'm going to do it.
Right. And here's the next one, is being aware online, whether it's social media or on on streaming channels or on whatever. Be careful of your digital exposure. Just be careful of it. We have to be online. Our whole industry is online. But be careful how much you OD on that, because that, as we all know, many studies have shown, changes your brain waves and changes the way you think, the physiology of your brain, your body, and your spirit. So you have to protect yourself from influences, imagery, visuals, sounds. You have to protect yourself.
I'm completely honest that is an ongoing battle, I think, for a lot of people, especially in the digital age. Because, I can open a bunch of, how many tabs do I have open right now? I have at least 10 tabs open on my Chrome. And so you all know, everybody knows that I'm a fashion buff. And so if I happen to go into a tab that is maybe a fashion influencer, or maybe the store has a new collection out, I could literally, if I'm not disciplined and I don't stop myself, I will be on that page for an hour.
Of course, it's such a dopamine kick. The really chemicals feel really good to be released. Yeah. The problem is there's so much residual stuff that happens after post that gets in your brain and you can't shake it. You can't unsee it. You can't unhear it. So just protect yourself. I would say protect yourself from digital harm that can come from just overdosing on it, or just having too much time, or just being in places that are not good for you. I always say to my husband, Jeremy, I say, I'm a big horror fan. I like horror. So whether it's in written form or TV or film, I just like it. I find it brilliant, and the art of it is very cathartic. However, if I OD on that at specific times of day or night, I cannot work. I cannot work because the imagery is in my mind and the reality of what I've created is present, and it interferes with my process.
Interesting.
Right? So talent has to be very careful of that.
Movie watching during the day.
It could be anything. It could be your daytime drama, your telenovela, your right? It could be anything that seeps into your brain and stops you from a clear process of really thinking straight, right?
So in that vein, right? I mean, I had another question. People ask me this all the time. How can I get unstuck? So what stories are voice actors, and this is kind of a good segue into it, what stories are voice actors telling themselves that keep them stuck?
Yeah, I mean, there's many, like it's a rerun, like Groundhog Day. It's rerunning in your brain that it's a particular way and you think it's that way and you're running through it. One of the techniques that I use, and I just do it organically now, is I have those people, and you should have many in your life that you can call, jump online with or call and talk to, and they will break that bubble that you're in of whatever that rerun is in your brain, and they will share the moment of their reality with you right now. And that will bring you out of that mental circumstance that you just can't break for some reason. Whatever it is, it could be you're in isolation, it could be you're lonely or depressed, it could be you're just tired and exhausted and you feel like quitting.
Sure.
Right?
You're frustrated because you haven't booked something in so long.
You're frustrated.
And you're like, and you're going back and forth that, should I, be in this industry even?
Don't keep rerunning that in your brain.
Or, the comparison thing, right? The comparison to other people online where everything is, glamorous online and people are posting their successes but not necessarily their failures. I love it when people post their failures because then that actually says to me, oh, phew, I can take a break here. And it's normal, especially when, veteran voice actors are, telling their stories and saying, hey, look, even today I had, I really wanted to book this gig and I didn't. I just didn't. So that helps to inspire and motivate the people who think, it just happens. It just happens. You should be able to book the gigs, and if you're not, then there's something wrong with you.
I had recently a client say that online, say, I kind of don't want to hear other people's wins because then I start comparing myself to them, and then I feel bad because I haven't gotten what they've gotten, and this and that. I said, you have to stop doing that. You have to, because you have to make yourself immune to your community of friends, family, colleagues, etc., that are sharing their experience. You want to be in on that share. You don't want to be locked out because your insecurity won't allow you to accept in their win. You want to say, hey, I'm here to get excited for you and motivate you. And on top of that, quietly, I'm here to learn from you so I can do some things that might help me that I'm not doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So there's a lot in those wins. It's not just sitting there and saying, oh, I didn't get that. Oh, I didn't do that. Exactly. Well, now you know. So, right? So now you've got some new ideas to move forward. That's one of the best things. I don't know if you do that, Annie, but that's one of the best things I've done in business is get with a lot of people, many successful people, and just listen to them. Just listen. Absorb it.
Doesn't have to be even in voiceover. As a matter of fact, a lot of mine, my inspirations are outside of
in business.
They're just in business. They're entrepreneurs in business. And so, I say really listen to people outside of the voiceover industry, really, that motivate and inspire you about their successes. And usually there's a story there of how they had to overcome hardships. And really that's going to, I think, inspire you to do that.
Here's another one. Don't allow yourself to think that what we do should come easy.
Oh, God, yes. Yes, absolutely.
It sounds like such an obvious thing, but how many clients, Annie, have we worked with that honestly think it should? Honestly.
Oh, yeah.
They don't mean to be they don't mean to think these things intentionally.
Yeah, well,
they
just
honestly think.
Reading behind the mic, that's what not only
I'm good at it. It's fun.
Not only what some voice actors think, right? That's what it is, but a lot of times you're right. It's clients as well, and so therefore they minimalize, right, the value of what we do because they think it's easy.
And they don't realize, you don't know what you don't know. They don't realize the level of competition that are behind the wall that you're never going to see. I mean, you're just never going to see it, right?
Yeah. I'm going to say, think about, and I say this because the time of year has come in Southern California where there's a lottery for us to buy Olympic tickets.
Ooh.
They're ridiculously expensive. But if you are an Olympic athlete.
How much are they? What are they running now?
Oh, I had a neighbor of mine who spent $11,000. You know, for the popular ones are gymnastics, swimming.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you
gymnastics,
imagine?
swimming. I tried to get into the equestrian. It was all sold out by the time. And we were picked in the lottery, like, so we were lucky. But they're doing it in phases. So it's and they're having it in different places around, which is really cool. Like the surfing, obviously, is going to be closer to us.
Yes, that's
the
awesome.
equestrian's going to be in a different space. The swimming's going to be at the new place that's being built, and so I want to do swimming, gymnastics. So if you look at these athletes, my point was, if you look at these athletes, they make it look easy. I mean, I just watching figure skating and gymnastics. They make it look easy, and so, but we never say to ourselves, oh, that looks, that's easy. I could do that. Nobody says that. But if
no one successful says that.
Well, exactly. If you
we
are
know.
a great talent and you're a great actor, it's going to sound like it should be easy, right? And so take that as a compliment. However, there are times when you will have to, educate your client at some point. But if the client is going to continually think, oh, it's too easy, or it's just easy, and so I'm not going to pay you what you're worth, then that's another topic, really. You have to make sure that, you know what I mean, you are working with clients that value your services. So, So,
yes, I would agree. I would agree.
Law. One more question.
Okay.
This question is so common, of course. Conversational. But in reality, I'm hearing a whole lot more about authority. So I have had, I do have one person that I have spoken with recently that said, but what does, they don't just say what conversation, but what is authority? What does authenticity really sound like? Like, what does that really sound like when I'm voicing? What does authenticity, what does that entail?
There's a term, and all of a sudden I can't think of it, Annie. Maybe you can conjure it up, and I'm seeing it in almost every breakdown, especially for women, where we need authority, credibility, assertiveness, gravitas. Gravitas.
Yep.
I'm seeing that a lot. Gravitas. Okay. Gravitas.
But does gravitas mean, and I'm not going to say, gravitas does not necessarily mean a low voice. Like, I've got a little bit of a low voice here because, I've got a little bit of a
we would think it does, but I don't believe it does. It's like that trick question of if you were going to go into a technology space to get some tutoring on some new software equipment, right? And you walk in and you see a person who let's say they're over 50, right? And then you see a person who's in that same space and they're like 20-something years old. Mm-hmm. And you're going for the newest, hottest software product to figure out how to use it. Who might you go to? So in a general sense, we would always say, oh, we'd go to the 50 and up because they've lived life and they're experienced and they know. Not true. We can't depend on assumptions and biases. Yeah. We have to look at what is the real frame of reference of that ideal client, that target market, and what do they look like, and what do they sound like, and how do they behave? And they might be a 15-year-old girl who knows more about Disneyland than you'll ever know. Right? Mm-hmm. So understanding exactly who you're targeting in terms of the empathy factor, the connection and authenticity factor, the age. I might have a lot more gravitas being 8 years old in that space of Pokemon than I would at 48, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have to think about what's the sound, what's the speech that goes along with that.
I love that because it's exactly what I just taught in my, precision narration class, which is all about the very first thing that you have to think about is your who you're talking to, right? And you have to have empathy. I love how you use the word empathy. Empathy is the first and foremost thing that I say. What is their plight? What is their problem? What is it that you're trying to help them with? And a very cool thing that I like to say is like if you're trying to sound, authentic and have that point of view where you really care, right? I think authenticity comes from a point of view that says, I care about you, the listener. And to get to that point, you've got to not be in your head. You've got to actually really create that story about the person that you're talking to and create that problem that you're helping them to solve. And then when you solve it, make sure that you're emphasizing and putting a point of view on the words that are important to them, right? We've all heard, if every word's important, none of them are. Well, there's certain words in a block of text that are pertinent. I know that when I listen to somebody about a solution, or maybe I'm looking for a new software, I'm looking for, something new, I have certain needs that it needs to fill. I may not need it to fill every single need that, is in the script, but I need it to be like, I need it to be compatible with the other softwares on my computer. I need, for my audio device, it's got to be compatible with my iOS and that sort of thing. So other than that, I don't necessarily care as much about the features of it. But if you're going to talk to me with that sense in mind that you're going to help me, because absolutely it's compatible and you're not going to have any issues with it, that shows me that you care. And that when you care, that is where you're genuine and authentic.
Yeah.
And
I would even push people to think, can I channel what someone else is feeling? Can I feel that? The people who can do that, and I'd like to think I'm one of those people, are literally empaths. They're people who can really feel what someone's going through.
And then you're reacting to it. This is a great example. This is how I teach it. So first, before you start your performance, right, your genuine, authentic performance, actually before you do anything, at any moment in time, right, we are reacting to something at any moment in time, which is why you cannot even start to think about that script as being like, it's the first moment in time and I'm starting it. No, you are always reacting to something. So you need to create the story that you're reacting to. Before you do that, right, you have the line in front of you, you know what you're going to say. Then, you create that story. You become the person that has the problem, and then you, as the voice actor, you have the script in front of you, you're going to respond to that. The first thing you do when you respond is you breathe, right? So, for example, I'm a Jersey girl. Someone cuts me off. This is my great example. Someone cuts me off. Okay, typically, what do? The first thing I do, I'm angry, right? I'm like, right? What do? I breathe. Right? So this is the start of my performance of being genuine and authentic and reactionary, right? Yep. So I breathe, and then I focus on what just happened to me. Breathe, focus on what just happened, right? Because that means you got to know what just happened, right? In your script, you got to know what just happened. And then you can fizzicate, right? You can physically react. So I might grip the wheel tighter. More than likely, I'm going to do another action that most people probably wouldn't appreciate, but it might involve anger. And then I speak. So get it, guys, before every single thing that you do, every single sentence in that particular script, you're breathing, you're focusing on what just happened. You are fizzicating, and then what happens is you're speaking, and you're speaking that line that's
a great word, I have to say, fizzicating. That's a great word.
And then what happens is it becomes natural. It's just because the flow, the rhythm, the point of view happens because you've done all that work. And
I love sound too. It seems like such a dopey, obvious thing to say.
Right.
But how many actors hold back their breath and their sound in order to get the line right? And I'm thinking you get the line right by allowing the breath and sound to happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can edit it out if you want to, but I'm telling you, I wouldn't edit it out. I think you should, for an audition, you should keep it in. Because to me, when I hear at the top, when I hear that, I already know that you're reacting. When a lot of the people that I hear, Annie, edit that out. And I wish they wouldn't. I wish I would actually hear it sometimes.
Now, I'm going to clarify that for you. I think in an audition, it absolutely might, for commercial, absolutely. Because I think for that.
For commercial, definitely for commercial. Or animation.
Animation, person to person, kind of more intimate. If you're talking about a long format narration, I don't know if we necessarily need to hear the breath, because remember, it's a different person that you're talking to. It's a different environment. You may not be as
That's true.
quick to the major kind of reactions. Like you're not going to be extremely happy. You're not going to be extremely sad or angry. But you will come at it with a genuine sound of authority. Right?
Yeah, and I do have to say, too, and this kind of answers the question we had earlier, and that is stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to sound polished and perfect and gorgeous and edited. I actually don't want that half the time because I know the equipment can do that. I want it to be a little dirtier at times. I want it to be a little rougher. I want it to be something that, is sort of yours that I'm not going to hear in every single one, whatever that is for you.
Yeah.
Right? It could be a breath. It could be a sound. It could be, I don't know, it could be anything. But the point is, it's something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to start out on a perfect, quiet note.
And that is a myth.
That's a myth.
People, right? I like that. That is a myth that needs to die in this industry, that it needs to be perfect.
Right. Some might even say, Annie, we need to watermark in certain circumstances. Like if you're on a pay-to-play online, you have to be careful. We just had a job come through MCVO that one of our talents booked, and it was terrific. And they decided to take the audition. And they took the audition and they used that as the gig, which was fantastic. He didn't have to do anything else. But my point is, if you're putting that online, anyone online can do that too.
Yeah.
Right?
But what about the watermark? Are you pro watermark?
I am. Yeah, I am. I am, because I think if you're putting something online, buyer beware. Anyone could take anything, and guess what? You'll never know.
I agree.
You will never know.
I would say don't make the watermark audible, though. Only because if you
make mistakes.
Exactly. If you're already telling the buyer that you don't trust them by, putting, an audible
make mistakes that you would honestly and authentically make. Do a stammer, do a stutter, leave out a few words, right?
Exactly.
Do something that a human being would do. And they might like it on top of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know.
Exactly.
But yeah, I am a fan of that. I am.
Awesome. Well, Lau, I think that's been a lovely episode.
Awesome. I love it. And I know it's going to help so many people out there that are really thinking, what should I be doing? But even more so, what should I not be doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Nicely done, Annie.
Yes, thank you, Lau, so much. I'm going to give a great big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and network and get your questions asked. Find out more at IPDTL.com. Bosses, have an amazing week, and we will see you next week. Yay.
Bye.